The legend of Bloody Mary is one that has fascinated me from a very young age. In this video I will try to discover where the legend originated from and if there is any truth to the woman in the mirror. Like most, I was introduced to Bloody Mary at a sleepover, where my cousins and I would watch horror movies and try to scare each other in whatever way we could think of. This is when someone suggested we try to summon Bloody Mary. For those who don't know, I will describe how we tried to do this back then, and I will also talk about other methods people have tried that I've came across in research for this video. Back in the early 2000s, late one Saturday night, my cousins and I lit the only candle we could find, which ended up being a tea light candle from an ornament which had been collecting dust for many years at this point. But a candle was a candle. After fumbling with some matches for way too long, the candle was lit and the lights were turned off. I would be the first to enter the bathroom and stare in the mirror while saying the name Bloody Mary 3 times. I pretended not to be scared, but fear was certainly crawling up my spine with each mention of the name. After the third saying of the name, I stood, staring at my reflection, with the flame flickering on my face, making it look distorted in the surrounding darkness. Watching my face, it seemed to change, and that was when the ones waiting on the other side of the door thought it would be funny to start banging the door, making me jump and curse. That quickly lifted the mood. And then it was the next person's turn, and so on and so forth, each coming out and each telling a different, more unlikely tale until the game was over and we went on to find something new and freaky to amuse ourselves with. That was my first experience with the Bloody Mary game, and in the years since I've had many more, all with a group of friends and all ending with a laugh. Even trying the Bloody Mary cocktail once, and for me, it was one time too many. Ugh. One of the earliest renditions of a Bloody Mary type ritual is the divination ritual, which would have young women of the early 20th century walk up a flight of stairs in a dark house holding a candle and a hand mirror, with the idea that they would foresee their future husband's face in the mirror. That's all well and good, but the flip side to this ritual is that instead of seeing the face of a future suitor, it would be that of a skull or a grim reaper, which meant that they would die before they ever had the chance to be married. One of the most common origins of Bloody Mary that I came across while doing research for this video was that of Mary Worth, who was a young woman after a one-night stand became pregnant. The whole time during her pregnancy she detested the idea of having a bastard child, but the moment she gave birth and held her baby, she fell in love with it. 1 year later, Mary wakes to find her baby dead in its crib. Overwhelmed with grief, she bawled her eyes out while staring into a mirror, and in an instant of insanity, she grabbed a knife and stabbed herself repeatedly. Now if you say Mary Worth, I have your baby 3 times in a mirror by candlelight in a dark room, she will appear behind you bloodied and knife in hand, itching to do the same to you as she did to herself. Another story of Mary Worth was instead that she was a white witch, who unlike her more sinister counterparts would use witchcraft for good rather than evil. She was a lonely, haggard old lady that lived in a run-down cottage in the woods. She would make medicines and herbal remedies, and the townsfolk would send their children to Mary so she could make them better. After a while though, the children failed to return home, and all blame fell on Mary, who would be called a murderer. Since the children began to disappear, Mary began to look younger, and her complexion was a little less haggard. The town not only thought that Mary was killing their children, but was also bathing in their blood. This tale, however, sounds more like that of the blood countess Elizabeth Bathory, which we'll not get into in this video, but maybe in a different one. Eventually Mary was burned at the stake with a mirror held up so she could witness the flesh burning from her bones. More different variations of how to summon Bloody Mary are saying her name 13 times while spinning around in a circle in front of a mirror, continuously chanting Bloody Mary while staring at a mirror, and then another one is holding a lit candle up to your face in front of a mirror, saying Bloody Mary 3 times before blowing the candle out, and on relighting the candle, Mary should be standing behind you. There are plenty more ways to do this ritual, but we would be here all day if I went through each and every one of them. One of the weirdest connections to Bloody Mary is that of the truly real Bloody Mary, aka Mary Tudor, Queen of England and Ireland from 1553 till her death in 1558. She was given the title of Bloody Mary by the Protestants, who the Queen had beheaded many of in her pursuit of Roman Catholicism. Other than the shared name, there really is no connection between the two. There is an explanation to why people think they see strange things whenever they're staring into a mirror in a dark room for a prolonged period of time. It is the consequence of a dissociative identity effect, which causes the brain's facial recognition systems to malfunction in a currently unidentified way that can cause people to hallucinate that their face is changing, melting, warping, or becoming a demon or animalistic like. This explains why I thought my face was changing in the mirror and why I had nightmares all those years ago. Bloody Mary has been an urban folktale for many decades, and honestly I don't know where the original story came from or what even is the origins, if there is any at all. But what I do know is that it is a legend that has and will continue to stand the test of time. Mary has crossed over many different mediums, being featured in episodes of hit TV shows like The X-Files and Supernatural, as well as even having some movies released about Bloody Mary, or the likes of The Candyman, where they took the basic ritual of conjuring Mary and expanded it into its own horror classic. So this Halloween, why don't you get some friends together, choose your preferred method and see if you can conjure the girl in the mirror, but be careful. She might just scratch her eyes out. Happy Halloween.